Hello all, welcome to the new Simply Put series by Kalam Academy. This is Priyanka Mahapatra, faculty at Kalam. Today we'll be having a discussion on the newspaper dated 4 December 2023. So the articles which are displayed in the text and the context section of the Hindu newspaper is about recriminalization of adultery again. That we are going to discuss because it is important from our exam perspective. Other articles were not important, so we are not going to discuss them. Similarly, in the explain section of the Indian Express newspaper, one article was very important, that is about All India Judicial Service, which we would be talking about in detail. Other articles are not so important, so we will be not discussing them. So these are the two articles we are going to discuss today, which is displayed in our screen. Let's now come to the first article of the day, that is recriminalization of adultery. So why this was in news? Because the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Home Affairs, it has suggested that the proposed Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita Bill 2023, which seeks to replace the IPC 1860, under this bill, the Parliamentary Standing Committee is saying to amend and make adultery a criminal offence again. Yes, it is recriminalization of adultery again proposed by the Parliamentary Standing Committee. But here with some changes. That is, it would be done on gender neutral terms. That means here both men and the woman should be punished in the whole process. Unlike previously where man was only punished in the process. That was under section 497 of IPC. So as of now, it is not a crime. This section got struck down by the Supreme Court under Joseph Singh versus Union of India case in 2018. So what is section 497 of IPC? So section 497 of IPC dealt with the adultery provisions, which said that if a man establishes a sexual relationship with a woman who is the wife of another man without the consent of her husband, then he is to be punished under the section 497 of IPC. But in a different situation where the husband of this woman gives consent to this man to have sexual relationship, then this man cannot be punished. So here you see to the woman here who is only victimized in this process. He has no rights. You see the anomalies associated with this section where any adulterous relationship would not be called an offense if the married woman has had her husband's consent to have the sexual relationship. So here the rights of the woman are being jeopardized. Her right to privacy is being violated. Her autonomy is being violated. Her human dignity is kept at back burner. That is how this section 497 of IPC is very discriminatory, and that is why it was struck down by a 5-judge bench of Supreme Court, then led by Chief Justice of India Deepak Mishra and also comprised of the current Chief Justice of India D.Y. Chandrachud, and they unanimously struck down because of its discriminatory nature. The judges said that husband is neither the master of wife nor the wife is the property of the husband in this process. She has got all the rights. So therefore now the Parliamentary Standing Committee is saying that we are fine with the striking down of section 497, which actually discriminated against the woman, where only man was getting punished and there were no rights given to the woman. Therefore, we would be bringing the adultery again under the criminalization ambit, but with some changes where both men and women, they are going to get punished in the process. So what is the main idea behind it? Because the parliament wants to safeguard the sanctity of the institution of the marriage over here. The Parliamentary Standing Committee, it is up to safeguarding the sanctity of the institution of marriage in India. you know how sacred the institution of marriage is in India. Right? But there is a prevailing opposite viewpoint about the institution of marriage as well. Nowadays, marriage is not a sacred institution anymore. Divorces are happening rampantly. Extramarital affairs are happening rampantly. So it is outdated to raise marriage to the level of a sacrament this era. Again, state has no business to enter into the private lives of couples and punish the alleged wrongdoer. Anyway, the couple, they always have the chance to go and get divorced if they're not happy with each other. So what is the point of bringing legal backing to the adultery? So the debate over the criminalization of adultery in India invokes many social, legal, and constitutional questions. Therefore, a careful consideration of all these factors needed to be taken into account before criminalization of adultery in India. So coming to the second article of the day, what is All India Judicial Services? So here we would be discussing everything about the All India Judicial Service. It is very important from your GS paper 2 perspective. So we would be discussing the meaning of it, the constitutional provisions, what is the need of this service, what are the challenges in its implementation, and lastly the way ahead part. So why this was in news? The President of India recently she advocated the establishment of an All India Judicial Service to ensure diverse representation in the judiciary. So what is it exactly? It is an initiative basically to reform the judiciary by centralizing the recruitment of the judges. We would be having a common exam, just similar to how UPSC is conducting a central recruitment examination every year. So this would be a centralized exam, a centralized service for the recruitment of the judges at the level of additional district judges and district judges for all the states. Here it is very important to remember here it is at the level of district judges only and not below it, not at the subordinate level. So Article 312, it provides for the establishment of the All India Judicial Services along the lines of central civil services. And it cannot include any post which is inferior to that of district judge as defined in Article 230. So presently the Article 233 and 234, it deals with the appointment of district judges under the domain of the states. At present, various high courts and state service commissions, they hold exams to recruit the judicial officers up to the level of district judges. It is called as Provincial Civil Service Judicial Exam. Right? So the case for All India Judicial Service, it was first mooted in the Law Commission's 1958 reports on reforms on judicial administration, and then 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act in 1976, it also amended Article 312 empowering Parliament to make laws for the creation of one or more All India services, under which All India Judicial Service was also included. But this aspect, this constitutional amendment, it escaped the parliamentary scrutiny that time because it was post-emergency. Then another time it got approval in 1992 when Supreme Court in All India Judges Association versus Union of India directed the centre to set up an All India Judicial Service. Again in 2006, the Parliamentary Standing Committee report in its 15th report also made a case for All India Judicial Service. So what is the need for All India Judicial Service? There are numerous issues that are going on in the lower judiciary. So these issues can be addressed with the coming up of the All India Judicial Service. It will promote national integration. It will not promote any regionalism effect in the state judiciary. The state judiciary will have also the judicial officers from all over India. There will be representation of the marginalized section of the society as well. There will be diverse representation. There will be certain reservations also at the central level to bring the marginalized sections of the society into the service. There is a case to fill up the vacancies also very systematically to reduce the pendency. Here, the pendency of the cases is around 4 crore cases presently. So we need to fill up all the vacancies across all the states in order to reduce the pendency. Then there will be a quite influx of the qualified fresh legal talent. Again, when the exam is very fair and based on merit, it will end nepotism and corruption in the process, like it's happening in the UPSC, thus bringing efficiency in the judicial administration. Right? So this is all about the need of judicial services. Then we come to the challenges in creation of an all India judicial service. Why it has failed to become a reality even today? We'll look out for the reasons. So all India judicial service is against the federal principle of our constitution. The first reason is that it is against the federalism of our constitution. How? Because here the fundamental power of the state to make any rule or govern the appointment process of the district judges is being taken away. Similarly, the appointment of the district judges was being done by the high courts and the state public service commissions, and thus bringing the centralized recruitment process erodes the power of high courts and the states also. Thereby, it threatens the judiciary's independence as well. It is against the federalism principle of our constitution as well. Secondly, the vacancies are unique to each state. Because the vacancies are there very different from one state to another. And here you must understand that most of the vacancies are there in the subordinate courts level, not in the district courts level. But the All India Judicial Service is catering to the district courts level and up. It is not catering to the deficiencies of the subordinate courts level. Thereby, it is actually not addressing the structural issues plaguing in the lower judiciary, like judicial infrastructure, pendency of the cases, vacancies, because most of the vacancies and pendency of the cases, they lie in the district courts level. Then it is curtailing the avenues of promotion as well. How? For those who had already entered through the state services, and now the senior levels, they are being recruited by the officers selected by the All India Judicial Service, they are being demotivated. The persons, the entrants through the state services are now demotivated to continue their service when the senior levels are being recruited by the All India Judicial Service, thus affecting the manning of the state judicial services. Then the language barrier, language and representation is also a concern which is being put forth by many states. So these are the challenges to the creation of the. Then we come to the way ahead. So for now, there is no consensus on bringing this reform due to the discussed challenges. So how can we make the process feasible for the reform for the service to be implemented? So there are some ways. First is multi-stakeholder approach, where we can have a consultative understanding with all the stakeholders to arrive at a common ground. Then adequate funds needs to be mobilized for the creation of the All India Judicial Service in terms of infrastructure, in terms of capacity building, training, etc. Then we can also address the language issue by actually allowing the students, the applicants, to list their choice state. Then we can also define the career growth prospects at the lower judiciary level, by which there will be a enhance in the motivation level. Then we can also bring capacity building of the lower court judges by continually making available the legal education. So these are the way ahead points one must write if at all the question of All India Judicial Service come in the exam. So this was all about today's discussion. Thank you so much.